voice every day to the world and to your heart. Open up your eyes and let your spirit start. Say yes to the dreams you hold inside. Let your soul be your guide.
Thank you for joining us today for another episode of Wednesday Wisdom. Everyone, we are in for such an incredible treat because we don't have just one amazing guest, we have two. So allow me to introduce the amazing Mandy Thomas and Kim Butler. They are Team Butler-Thomas at NEXA Mortgage, Beyond Ordinary Lending. Ladies, thank you so much for taking time out of your crazy busy schedules to spend some time with us to share your wisdom. So our very first question, and I really do think that this kind of sets the stage of all of us in this industry, and that's our origin story. So who wants to kick us off? Mandy or Kim? Who wants to share? How did you get started in this industry?
Well, you can start, Kim, since Kim has been in a little bit longer than I have.
Great.
So my story is kind of funny. I got into it by sheer accident. This woman who I didn't know at the time showed up on my doorstep and literally knocked on my door. She was looking for somebody, and I had no idea who this person was that she was looking for, but she just seemed hilarious. She was funny right off the bat, had this like thick Alabama accent, and I had no idea who she was, but I invited her into my house and I said, come on in, let's figure out who you're looking for, where you are, and go from there. Well, we completely hit it off and strike up conversation. Next thing you know, I don't know, maybe an hour or two had gone by. And at the time I was really young. This was in 2003.
Okay.
And my father was going through some health issues and I was caring for him for a short time. And she says, well, what do you know about mortgage? And I said, well, I sure know I can't afford one right now. And just jokingly. And she says, well, I want you to come and talk to me. She was a senior ops manager of a lender based out of St. Pete, Florida at the time. Accredited Home Lenders was the name of the company.
I remember Accredited very well.
Okay. Yes. So we end up hanging out this night. We find who her intended party is. So this girl was in town. So she figured out who the intended party was that she was looking for. And we ended up finding her this mutual friend that we had. We didn't realize she was a mutual friend because she was referring to her as a nickname. And so there was some confusion there on who she was. Well, we ended up working that out and ended up partying together all night with our mutual friend. Well, then she says, hey, send me your resume on Monday. I, really enjoyed talking to you. Let's just see, how things go. So long story short, I sent her my resume. I went in for an interview and I got the job. I was hired as an underwriter and I trained directly under her. Well, the funny thing about it is she told me, she called me after the interview and said, look, I'm going to shoot straight with you. We're on a hiring freeze right now. I really can't even be hiring you. But her counterpart, Loretta, said, hey, if you don't hire this girl, I'm going to hire her. So they said, we want you to come on board. I'm going to train you personally myself, the senior ops manager. And so I got the best training that you could possibly get. And I worked for Accredited for, several years. I loved it. It was the best training ground I could have received in this business under the greatest management team, and really set the stage for my mortgage career. And this was in 2003. And I've, been in really ever since.
Wow. What an incredible story. And I'm going to tell you, The reason why I love hearing people's origin stories, and number one, they're always unique. They're always different. Like no one has like the same story, right? Everybody have, but that one with the knocking on the door and all of that, that's a whole nother.
It was meant to be.
But I almost picture like opportunity literally knocking on the door.
Yeah.
That's why I tell people, I know they say that, it doesn't come to your doorstep, but I'm like, in my case, it really did. So, and she's one of my very best friends in this world. We're super tight, super close. She not only was a great mentor in the business, but has remained one of my very best friends in life.
Still in mortgage.
Still in mortgage and, at another corporation and doing really well. And I couldn't be more grateful for answering the door that day, really.
You answered the opportunity. And I'll tell you, Accredited was one of my go-to lenders when I ran retail ops back then.
Okay.
And they were wonderful. And it's funny, my account executive back in the early 2000s, we are still friends today from Accredited.
Awesome.
Like it's just funny how
it was a family.
This industry is it's smaller than you think.
Yeah.
Very small. Very small.
It was awesome. It was.
I love it. All right, Mandy, let's hear it.
Well, I was finishing my last year of college and I wasn't exactly sure what direction I was going to go. I got a degree in marketing, and my last semester, I heard about an opportunity at a local bank in our local state in Oklahoma. And so I went to work under a loan officer at first just to learn the business. And then I transitioned onto the operations side for a few years. And then once I, felt like I had that mastered, my heart and true passion was origination. So I started originating. I started back in 2010 is when I first got into
that. Was not an easy time.
No.
2010.
That's kind of, in college, all of my professors were like, I really don't know what you're going to do with your degree, but find a job.
And it was difficult during that time.
But I fell in love with it pretty quickly. My family, they have been in real estate for several years. So I've always kind of been around real estate as it is. And so my career kind of took off whenever I started originating. And I originated for, about 3 years before Kim joined me.
Okay.
I met Kim at a networking group at a real estate office in Edmond where we live.
Yeah.
It was actually at a really early morning, 7 a.m. group with lots of people. And we had a mutual friend in the group that, he's actually pretty known in our industry now, Kyle Draper. I don't know if you know.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yep.
But Kyle Draper introduced Kim and I.
Friend of ours.
Oh, that's awesome. Again, small industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kyle wasn't even in, the mortgage industry at the time. He was
his family owned a roofing business, and he was helping in the roofing business back then.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy.
See that? Isn't that wild? Right?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yes. And so we met, and then a few years, that was in 2014. And then in 2017, Kim joined me at the bank that I started out at. I was at the bank for almost 10 years.
Oh, wow.
A little over 9 years. And then we left the bank together, a year later? And joined the retail side of things. And then about 3 years later, we decided that we wanted to take on a better opportunity on the broker side. And that's when we discovered NEXA.
Awesome.
Our upline recruited us for a couple of years. We're cautious people, and it took us a while to decide. But Kim's background with Accredited and working on the wholesale side really helped give her the courage and tell me hey, I promise you, I know this side of the business. I know the broker side. It's awesome. We really need to try this. So we took a leap of faith, and I'm really glad that we did, because our business has just grown.
That's awesome.
Every single month since we have joined the broker channel. And
so how long have you been there for? 5 years? Is that 5 years?
We've been at NEXA so we jumped over in January of 2022.
Got it.
So almost 4 years.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
What an incredible story. And again, that journey, right? That journey that you went through, and then the coming together, like we say it so many times of number one, you have to get out and meet people, right? Because I know we live in this virtual world now where it's so easy for us to stay behind the screens, but it's in those face-to-face meetings where some of the strongest relationships happen. And then you can keep them going, digitally, right? Like over time. But yeah, once again, that true, indicator of you do have to get out there and do that, right? And 7 a.m. and you said it was so busy. I'm shocked.
Well, what's funny about that is I had actually gotten out of mortgage for a few minutes.
Okay.
And I was still doing some contract underwriting work and post-close underwriting and things like that. And I swore that I would never get back into mortgage full time, because you know how this business is. It's love, hate, up and down, all the things. And so, and Mandy,
I was busy and I was like, I want you to join me.
Well, yeah. And so we talked about it, and had it not been for her, I don't know if, I don't know what the future would have held, but it felt like the only clear path, and it felt right. And, I trusted her, and I still trust her. And, we work really well together. But I did, at the time that we met, I was in insurance. And then when we decided to join together, it just.
Well, I had won a trip for President's Club at
wow.
And our president of the bank at that time was like, you girls really should think about teaming up, knowing the background that Kim has. And Kim was kind of like, really? And then learning how much underwriting experience she had really made me want to get her to jump back into the business on a more full-time basis, because her knowledge of underwriting really helps us and helps our team even to this day, and sets us apart and makes us kind of unique compared to some other teams.
Well, right? We both know you have to have that synergy between the sales and ops side to truly do sustainable volume. We know that, right? So to be able to team up and have that covered where you don't have to worry about that just allows you to go, right? It's perfect. It is right. And the level of trust is there, right? Obviously you trust each other on both sides.
Yeah.
And what makes a wonderful team. Okay. So now we've heard how you came in. I absolutely love it. Now we're gonna say, okay, here we are. Mandy's been doing this for over 20 years, right? And the time I'm sorry, Kim has been doing for over 20 years. And then, Mandy's been doing this for over 10 years. I mean, it's been a while. Now I want to know, what piece of advice would you give based on having that level of experience, right? What was I would have done this different, or I would have done a little more research here, or I would have tried that direction, or I was a little too cautious. Maybe I would have taken a risk on that. Whatever direction you want to take it, I'd love to hear, what's that piece of advice for those people out there?
So I think, on the broker side of things, if I were to answer this, especially with us at NEXA having, 300 partnerships, I think what has enabled us to do the business that we're doing and grow the way that we're growing is learning not only all of the loan products, but also all of the lenders and their specific guidelines. Because just because one lender offers, a certain loan type, like a DSCR, for instance, we work with a ton of investors. We love working with investors. Sure. And we do a lot of DSCR loans. So knowing, I think, all of the specifics, not only for the loan product itself, but then also, if any lender has specific requirements or overlays that they have, I can get 10 different lenders' matrices for a DSCR loan, and none of them are going to be identical. So that would be my biggest piece of advice is, knowledge is power. The more knowledge that you have on your loan products and what you have to offer, the more power you're going to have, and really digging in deep with clients. So our shift has gone. So when I'm, for instance, working with an investor and I sit down, I tell people, hey, this isn't transactional for me. I want to be the person that you think of in 10 years from now, or 5 years from now, or 2 years from now, as you're building your portfolio, not only the loan that you've got on it now, but in the future. So I'm finding out what their short-term goals are, their long-term goals are, if they plan on building a portfolio, if they currently have an LLC, if they want an LLC, all of the things that may impact them short-term, but also long-term. And I'm just using DSCR as an example, but we also have, there's so many different loan products that we have at our fingertips. And Mandy and I have been with NEXA now for several years, and we're still learning new loan programs that we have. But all that does is, better enable us to serve more people in the community. And talking points with real estate agents. Everybody knows about conventional FHA, USDA, VA, like that. Everybody knows about it. Everybody can do it. But when we have these one-off deals, we just closed one today that had already gone through 2 other lenders that, had gotten denials, and they bring it to us, and, everybody they talked to said there's no way this can be done. And we got it done and just closed 2 hours ago.
That's awesome.
And because of that, now we've established a new relationship with a real estate agent, potentially a listing agent. She also shouted us out on Saturday with, some of her counterparts. So we have a new real estate agent who's sending us another deal that she's having trouble with another lender. So and had we not known about that loan product, then we may never be here. So I think, and Mandy, you can add in on this, but for me, it would just be knowing all of your tools. I know we say that a lot in this business, but knowing what tools you have and how to use them is going to do nothing but, empower you, and the business will come. If you know what you're selling and you know what you have, the business will come because you've got the products there to help people.
So Kim, everything you said, obviously I 100% agree, right? But everything you said, we know every person should be doing that, right? Like we all agree. Every originator out there should be doing that. Now, I think me and you would also agree, and Mandy would certainly agree too, that more than likely the majority are not, right? So I'm curious. I'm gonna simplify. Let's simplify. For the person out there listening to this right now that's like, yeah, I know I'm supposed to know about all these wacky programs and be able to, but you know what? There's so many nuances and there's so many different things.
Get to know.
I'd love to hear, Kim. Yeah, right? Where do you start? What would be that advice to them who is like, hey, Bob, listening to this right now, listen, this is the differentiator and this is how you start to break it down. What would you give that piece of advice about?
In regard to what I'm already talking about, or just
like that knowledge, that gaining that knowledge?
Your background helps.
No, I will tell you what
it does.
When account executives call me, immediately I ask them, hey, what are your top 3? What are your hot products? Tell me about them. Why are they different than other lenders? So right off the bat, I'm asking them. And then I immediately ask them, hey, can you email me a matrix and product guideline? And then I have lender folders. So I have all of our lenders. And then what I do is I take all of their matrices, their product guidelines. I take a few minutes to read through them, especially if it's a loan product that I know that I come across often. And then I'll go through and highlight them. I put them in my lender folder. And then when I come across that loan product or an application that meets that, I then go back into my lender folders and I pull those up and I read through them and see, hey, this one's not going to work. He wants, he doesn't have 6 months reserve. So I have to go with a lender that only requires 3 months reserves or whatever the case may be. And that's how I do it.
I love it.
Buddy, but that's how it works for me.
Plus relationships are extremely important. Our account executives with all of the lenders that we work with on a consistent basis, we truly care about them and we feel that they care about us and we have a true, real relationship with our account executives, I think.
I'm telling you, I think that is absolutely vital. Go back to the story I told about Accredited. That was over 20 years ago. I remember calling that account executive when I was in a pickle, whatever pickle I was in, right? Has to close this document, whatever. And I enjoyed speaking to that person, right? I trusted them. I knew they were going to answer. I knew they were going to have my back, whatever, right? So to your point, that relationship is so important. So it's a combination of, yes, Mandy, you've got a superhero over here, Kim, that's organized, can keep all that stuff straight. So kudos on that. Plus having that relationship. All right. So Mandy, what's your piece of advice to the people that maybe, haven't been in the business as long? What would you share?
If I were to do things differently, I would have joined the broker channel sooner than I did. Just had fear. I was afraid that, I wouldn't get the business, and we're getting more business being on this side of things. Just having all of the products and all of the lenders that we are able to send loans through opens up so much opportunity for our borrowers and ourselves. So I would say take risks. Don't be afraid, and definitely, try the broker channel as long as you have enough experience to do that. I don't like bringing on brand new people to the broker channel. I don't think that's a good idea, because you really need to know your stuff, because you don't have somebody there to hold your hand. But you do have support, and you do have, account executives with different lenders, and then the support of our company, NEXA, as well, is huge. So I would just say take a risk and ask for the business. That's one thing that Kim and I need to do more, even now in our business. Sometimes
more business,
we get caught up in our day-to-day pipeline and processes that we have, and we don't go out and ask for the business as much as we should. And I would just say take a risk and do that.
Wow. Such
Anybody can say is no.
This is the way I look at it, is it's a not right now.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's permanent forever in a lifetime. It's just not right now.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine, right? But Mandy, I mean, how many times do we forget to do that, right? We're caught up in our day-to-day. We're doing all this stuff, and we forget to ask for the business, and it's so important, right? And we are a little afraid sometimes to ask for the business too. So thank you for that. I love that. All right, ladies, this is such great wisdom that you're sharing, and thank you. Just the way you guys kind of play off each other and how you balance the sales and ops and full picture. I love it. It's so we can see why you're successful.
And
That's
Kim
for sure.
is really good at sales too. She's not just ops. She actually is the full package with that.
She really is the super woman over there, right?
Yeah.
I love it. All right. So here's
Being
our
humble, though. She's being very humble right now.
That's why you guys are such a good team.
That's
See, that
right.
goes back to that team
That's
again.
right.
Yeah.
Each one is like, she's great. So I love it.
I just wouldn't want to do it on my own. This is at times can be a challenging industry and exhausting. So it's nice to have somebody that can help support you and that you can trust. So
I don't think you can be in it for the long haul if you don't.
Yeah.
I really, you'll burn out.
Processing. You need a good processor that you can trust. And we have that, and we are really grateful.
100%. All right. My final question. This is my favorite one because I never know what people are going to say. It's always usually, something unique on every single one. So I like to end with, I believe that when we put things out and we say things, it kind of plants a seed in the future of it can be, right? It's a hope, it's a wish, it's something that may occur. So the way we end on Wednesday Wisdom is I ask, if I took out my magic wand right now, where there is no limitations and there is nothing that can stop us from this happening, I would love to know, what would be something that you would have occur in the world?
Well, back in December, I had a baby. She's 9 months old now, and she was born with profound hearing loss. She's deaf in both ears. And so that really took a toll on our family. And we learned a lot about the hearing loss world, and have met some really incredible people in other states and in our state as well. And I don't know exactly how we would do this, but I would like to be more involved in the hearing loss world at a greater capacity, maybe with a foundation, or maybe, have some way to help other families navigate hearing loss.
Those initial times.
It's really hard at first. And we're still going through it. She's had one surgery. She had a cochlear implant on her left ear back in July, and she's doing really wonderful. She had activation day in August, and she's hearing our voices and
Oh,
responding and doing so well. And we have another surgery that will be scheduled any day now for her right ear. And that's been really cool to just walk through and see her grow, and start to hear and learn to hear because,
wow.
babies don't hear even, they start hearing in utero at 20 weeks. So when she was activated, it was like being in utero for 20 weeks. So she's still early on in the early stages, and we're already seeing significant progress with her. So that's been really cool to see. And I would like to help other families somehow walk through that one day.
Yeah.
Well, based on what I've seen you guys do with coming together and your kind of powers activated with coming together in what you've done, I am sure that, whatever that looks like, whether small or humongous, I know for a fact that you will change lives of those because of your experiences and your knowledge and sometimes just an open heart and an open, listening. So we wish you, obviously, we wish the whole family and blessings upon whatever the future may be, that I'm sure, it will continue to progress in a positive way. And we wish you all the best. Ladies, thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing your origin story and your wisdom and kind of your projection of where you're going. Keep shining bright, and we thank you so much for taking the time with all of us.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you,
us.
Laura.
We really enjoyed this.
Yeah,
Take
this is a
care.
lot of fun.